some kind of motivation. So we're going to talk about these 3 different ways that you can use technology to support common teacher tasks. So before class, different things that you would do, like planning your lessons, things that you would do during class, like managing your class and facilitating learning, and then things that you would do after class, like grading and recording and assessing your students. So we're going to talk about different technology tools that can help you do that. There's a link here that you should also have that has a list of all the teacher productivity tools, and it should look like this. So all of these are clickable that you can look at the different links that we have in the PowerPoint here. So make sure that you open that up in a tab next to this particular video. So let's talk about before the class and what teachers do before class. So before the class, teachers spend a lot of time planning their lessons, either providing resources or gathering resources. We call this curating as well, which is finding other resources that other people have created or other things that already exist, as well as creating worksheets and activities. This could also involve actually creating materials for your students. So before we get started, I want you to think back to a time when one of your teachers used a technology tool to help with planning their lessons. And again, this could be different worksheets that you noticed or resources. So take a minute to think back about that. Great, so I'm going to introduce some different resources here. There are some corporate sponsored places like ed tech companies that actually create things. And I think I already showed you an example of BrainPop, but that might be one that you want to explore further. They've got really great lessons with different activities, but that is a subscription-based one. Scholastic Teachers is also a corporate-based one. But this has a lot of different toolkits. You can search through all of these different lessons. Another popular one that teachers will talk about often is Teachers Pay Teachers. And this particular website there are some free lessons, but there are also lessons that other teachers have created that you can pay and download all of these readily accessed materials. You can look at all the free ones as well, different fonts, school favorites like digital clip art types of things. So these are all different pieces that you can use from Teachers Pay Teachers. Some of the examples I want to show you, some publicly sponsored ones. This one's one of my favorite for math. It's from the National Council for Teachers of Mathematics. They have tons of different lesson plans, as well as mobile games that you can play on your device. So this is also an app that you can download. Different interactives that are done on the computer, and then even brain teasers as well. So you can search through all these different things by looking at the standards or the Common Core Math standards, and so you can select whatever grade you want, search through it that way, and it'll give you specific things that go along with that grade level. So you can look at all those different pieces. So those are all different math resources. This one's from the National Council for Teachers of English. And this is called Read, Write, Think. They've got a lot of fantastic resources. So they have lesson plans, student interactives, and even mobile apps. So you can kind of explore through that and look at those resources. And then the last one I wanted to share with you is the Library of Congress that you can kind of explore. And again, a lot of these were secondary examples, but they have some really great elementary examples as well throughout here. So just make sure that you explore those. There's also making sure that your material is at the appropriate reading level for your students. So I have 2 examples here. This first one is a readability test. So I actually took an article. That's the right one. Hang on. Yeah, I took this article here. I'm just going to take the URL. So this is an article about a rainforest plant showing its true colors, blue when in survival mode. So I can just take this URL, paste it here, and then it's actually going to calculate the readability. So you can see by the grade level, it's 2.3. So students in grades 2 should be able to read this. But if they can't, the cool thing about Newsela is that this will actually change the words, which I think I showed you earlier. So this one in particular, you can see this paragraph, how it's going to change as we move down. So plant absorbing light, the way that plants use light. So it changes the words so that students can read it at different levels. And Newsela has a ton of different pieces that you can look at, a ton of different articles that you can look at. News, stories, text sites, text sets, so that you can explore and have all of your students reading the same content, but just at different grade levels. The other one I wanted to show you was Rewordify. So I copied, with Rewordify, you can copy a paragraph here and paste it in, and then it'll show you the words that are confusing, and it'll take it and simplify it. So here's the example. So here's what I copied and pasted in there, and I just have to put Rewordify text, and then what happens is you can put the question mark here,
absorbed,
here what it actually is, and then it translates it to soaked up like a towel. So instead of this one, which was capturing, it says taking force of or taking control of. So it specifies it, and you can even break it down into parts of speech and even stats, again, what grade level. So this one is a little bit different. This one says that it was at 10th grade level. So anyway, so that's another good one that you can copy and paste. And here it was the Newsela site, so you can look at the different text, which ones are lower and upper elementary, and so you can click on news articles and actually be able to adjust all of those text levels. So that's a really great feature. So even if you're in secondary, you can take an article and translate it down to lower reading level depending on your students. So the next one is during class, how the teacher can use technology to help manage their task and facilitate learning. So this can be like recording class events. So like sometimes teachers will record a screencast or do other sorts of things to record like a math problem or an explanation of what they're doing. It could also be facilitating learning with multimedia resources. So any links that you create for your students to explore, how they could take notes. So I want you to think back. Can you remember a technology tool that your teachers use to facilitate your learning in class? That could be to manage the class, or it could be to like help you get to different websites and things like that. So the one that I want to highlight on this, and there are a lot of different pieces here where you can have apps that help you select a student to call on. It could be like Nearpod that we use as an example, or ways to share information, clickers so that you can poll your students so that they can comment in the background. One of my favorites is QR codes. So I want to show you this QR code. So here's an example of a teacher that used QR codes in her class. So you can go right to these and it'll help read this particular story. So students can go up, have this, click to it, and then they can read about, have a story read aloud to them so they can pick which one they want to go with. Another one is finding additional information. So this teacher put different QR codes all around here so that you can explore videos and other sorts of things with Booker T. Washington. Again, this is great so students don't have to type in actual codes. So there you see another one, Bessie Coleman. So the students are scanning all the different websites and be able to watch it with their iPads quickly. This one was about, again, with the ants, so getting her students to websites quickly is great. And so I've seen other ones where they put scavenger hunts too, where students have to go around the room. This could also be great in science classrooms because you could, if you're going outside and need to explore different things, you can put a QR code on an actual tree so that information comes up about that particular tree with that piece of it. We've talked about Evernote and OneNote already, and Google Docs obviously is fantastic because you can collaborate with different people, you can provide feedback really quickly to your students, lots of great aspects about this piece. Some of us in W200 use ClassDojo, and maybe you've seen this with your students before. You can award points for behavior and also do attendance and even sharing what's going on throughout the day. One of the ones I want to show you is Factile, which this is a badge as well. You can, with this one, you can browse through different games. So there are all these different areas and the 4 core concept areas, but it goes beyond that. So this was an example of the history one. And so you can pick historical events and you say, who gave the famous speech, City Upon a Hill? And so you can either skip or see the answer, or let's say that this person got it correct, you can check the box and it'll show you what the answer is there. What is this historical place called? So if this person then gets it wrong, that was 300 points, so now they are a negative 100. You can actually do it like that, or you can do it just hitting the X button, and you can skip and see the answer. So these are already created for you, so this is a really great way to save time in your classroom. The last one is after class, and a lot of this involves communication with parents and students, as well as recording information, assessing, grading, those type of things, keeping various student records as well. So think back to remember a technology tool that one of your teachers used to assess your learning, to either give you a grade, or maybe it was communication with your parents or yourself, whatever that is. Talk about that just a little bit. So some of the ones that we use in W200 are Remind. Some of us use Remind, some of us use GroupMe in order to do that piece of it, or ClassDojo in order to communicate back and forth. There are also calendars, like in Canvas. We also have all of the assignments with due dates on there to remind you and include that entire class. Learning management systems, these are another one that, again, Canvas allows you to do a lot of different pieces. Many of you have played around with Google Classroom or have had experiences with Google Classroom, and this is a way to share all of your information and be able to share information with your students, as well as see your actual student work and keep track of that. And the last one is a rubric. These are really important if you're doing any kind of projects to be able to do that. There are tons of great rubric makers that will show you this semester that you can kind of play around with, and this again is another badge that you can do and